Hey y'all, CB here at MBS Welding. Doing a little goofing with the Blazer today, so let's check her out. Old ZR2 Blazer come with 31 1050s. The ZR2 package has a suspension lift, you know. I thought these things were so cool when they come out. Come factory with a 31 1050 tire, which was oversized for the S10 size vehicles. And I've been wondering what would fit on it, and I actually did a test with the spare, and what I got right there is a 33 1250. Now it is a wore out tire, but for one thing, you're not really supposed to put a 33 1250 on a 15x7 wheel, which we did. And you're probably not supposed to put a 33 1250 on a stock ZR2 Blazer, which I did. But the amazing thing is that it fit on there, and not only did it fit on there, I drove it and it didn't rub. And not only did it fit on there and I drove it and it didn't rub, but as you can tell, in my opinion, that looks way better than the 31 1050. So I've been goofing around buying some used stuff on Marketplace, and I bought some used 33 1250s, and I think the reason this is important that I got 5 33 1250 15s for 50 bucks, and they ain't got a lot of tread on them, but I can run them. But I think the reason this is important is because I don't want to buy 4 brand new 33 1250 tires and run them on that thing and realize that I don't like it, or they're way too big or whatever, and then, you know, you're in trouble. So putting 50 bucks in some of those, I'm gonna stick them on there, and I'm gonna run them, and I'm gonna see what I think, and you know, then I'll kind of go from there. Another thing I grabbed on Marketplace is I bought a set of cheap steel wheels, and the big trick with these is they come off a 2-wheel drive. And if you don't know, on these S10s, the dish on the wheels on a 2-wheel drive, if you measure like from right here to right here, is only I'm wanting to say it's like 4.5 inches or 5.5 inches or something. It's much less than a 4-wheel drive. So in other words, even though I don't know the exact measurements to tell you right now, if you put 2-wheel drive wheels on a 4-wheel drive, the tires will go out. It'll make it much wider. And you can put the 2-wheel drive wheels on a 4-wheel drive, but you can't put the 4-wheel drive wheels on a 2-wheel drive. The way I understand it, if you take the tires and wheels off a 4-wheel drive, put them on a 2-wheel drive, they will rub. So here's the thing that I'm wanting to do that's really goofy, is I'm wanting to take 2 of these wheels off the 2-wheel drive with 33 1250s on them and put them on the back, and then on the front I would have the factory wheels. And the reason that I would not want the 33 1250s on the 2-wheel drive wheels on the front is I think it'll make it rub. Based on my first test with a 33 1250 on the factory aluminum wheels, if you do that and it dishes that out, what's going to happen is it's going to cause it to rub the inner fender. You would think that dishing the big tire out would help, but since it doesn't rub the frame or anything else, the only problem, the closest thing was the inner fender on rubbing. And when you cut it all the way one way and you look at the space you got on the inner fender here, the 2-wheel drive wheel would actually make your problem worse. But I like the idea of the two-wheel drive wheel on the back, making the back wider than the front. I think that'll look cool. What might not look cool is I would have a different set of wheels on the front than on the back. I don't know how that's going to do, but we're just goofing. It's all used stuff. I ain't got a lot of money in it. But here's one important aspect of it. I'm going to have the 31 1050s that are on it now mounted on wheels so I can put them back on the Blazer if need be. And the reason I think that that's important is, like, this spring, when I drove to Charlottesville, Virginia, to change the furnace filter in one of my rental properties down there, I was driving over the mountains, and I was, you know, that's over 200 miles I was driving. I don't think you're going to want to do that on a wore out set of, you know, a wore out beat up set of 33 1250s. So even though I might have fun driving around town or going to the gym or going to the Walmart or, you know, running to the parts store with this thing with some 33s on it, that doesn't mean that you're going to want to drive the thing over the mountains 200 some miles with them. So even though both sets of tires that I'm going to have are used, I might get, since I don't put a lot of miles on it anyways, I might get a fair amount of life out of these 8 tires I've got by running the big ones when I'm goofing around close. And if I got to take the thing on a trip, I'll put the smaller ones on there. Now we'll see how all this pans out, and if any of this information helps anybody decide what size tires they might want on their ZR2 Blazer, that would be cool, because I don't plan to lift it. I don't plan to goof with it, other than I do need to build bumpers for it at some point. The rear bumper's messed up, the front bumper's messed up. And if I need to do something with the fender flares or something, I wouldn't be afraid to do that. I'm going to run the tires and wheels to my buddy's tire shop and get some mounting and balancing done today. And then we'll get something on here and take a look. Here's what's been a crack-a-lackin'. Got out the old brick nose dually and loaded up them tires and wheels. I took them to my buddy's tire shop and dropped them off. Got everything marked, what tire I want on what wheel, and he's getting going on that. He told me to come back at 4 o'clock and he'd have them done, so that's the plan. I went back to the shop and I got to doozinz some stuff. I had to shoot another video about my ARC Captain stuff, and then I got to looking at the old Blazer and seeing if I needed to get any doozinz done before I got the tires and wheels to put back on it, because I got that thing in the shop sitting on jack stands, and I noticed that the end links on the front sway bar are gone. Like the bolt part that goes through, it's completely rotted away. Called around the parts stores and actually found them in town. So we're rolling in the super service truck, went and picked up parts, and we're headed back to the shop. I'm gonna put them end links on that sway bar real quick, and by then it'd probably be about time to head on back. Oh, we got an ambulance coming through here. Man, I hope they're all right. Well, they ain't going toward the hospital. Must be going after somebody to pick them up. Anyway, I hope that works out all right for whoever. So I'm rolling back to the shop. I'm going to put these end links on the front sway bar on the Blazer, and then by then it'd probably be time I'll jump back in the old brick nose dually and roll on back to my buddy's tire shop and pick up them tires and wheels, and hopefully get this thing setting back on rubber here today. So showing you these 2 end links that are bad really just consists of showing you what's left. Because the one on the driver's side here, it's gone. Bolt rusted clear in 2. Look over here on the drinker's side, we got a little loosey-goosey and a lot of rotten rubber. Not too good. Glad we had parts for this in town, and obviously I'm not screwing around on the part of getting her apart. I got out the oxyacetylene torch, and we're just going to melt out of the way the stuff we don't need. It ain't no good no-how. As long as we don't hurt that bar, we're fine. So as far as whatever parts I got to cut through to melt the rest of the end links of that sway bar off there, that's what we're going to do. And I think this here's probably the quickest way to get everything out of the way that we don't need. So the next thing is going to be, obviously, I got the new parts. I'm going to be screwing those together in place there. The bar kind of it shifted downward a little bit more than I wanted it to as far as putting the nut on there. You would think that you could just squeeze it up there and put the nut on, but it really didn't do that. And I realized that I needed to get them both in place before I put one on anyway. And I think that's something to think about. It's actually one of those mistakes I think I've done before. With a sway bar like this, if you put one side on and tighten it, you'll really have a hard time getting the other side on. So you need to get your bushings and your bolt and everything in place pretty loose and through the hole on both sides. So once I did that, I went to my old mini puller. You know, I always use this handy little mini puller to squeeze things together, and it's like having an extra hand there. It squished her together, and once I squeezed the one side, it wasn't a problem. I didn't have to squeeze them both. You know, that bar's one piece once it rolled up there. Or actually, I did squeeze them both. I didn't think I needed to do that, but it looks like now that I'm seeing the video, I actually did squeeze them both. I probably didn't need to because it looked like there was enough thread sticking out. Anywhooser, I give her a hit with an impact gun, and the one thing I noticed, this Blazer is at the point where I use a lot of parts store parts. And if you know much about auto parts, you know the stuff at the parts store is not anywhere near the quality of the original manufacturers. And what I run into with bolts a lot, with U-bolts and with bolts like these on a sway bar end link, is it's not a high quality bolt. It's good enough. It'll work. But you might notice there, I double nutted that. And I could tell when I tightened it, it was going to be easy to strip the threads out. So the double nut should put me in good shape right there. Now this windshield wiper is another thing I want to look at because it's been loose for a long time. And about 15 years ago, I tapped it and put that nut on it and tightened it, and that helped. And then about 10 years ago, it was loose again, so I drilled a hole through it and put a cotter pin in it. And now it's loose again. So what I'm doing here now is I went and got a washer, and I put a mark on the wiper, on the cast aluminum part of the wiper, where I wanted to put a self-tapping screw through the hole in the washer to secure the washer to that wiper, to the windshield wiper arm. And once that washer is secured with that, beside the shaft that rotates, I welded the washer to the shaft. So this is really, it's some hacked up stuff, but it's going to work. Now, we got out the Shyster forklift, and we got us a pallet because we got the old brick nose dually loaded down with tires and wheels. There's 8 of them here, and I'm only going to be needing, 4 of them. But what I got here, I got the original 31 1050s mounted and balanced. And then I got the new old 33 1250s that I'm going to be putting on it right now. Got them mounted and balanced too. So I used some acetone and I wiped the paint marks off the tires where I had them marked, and then I used some degreaser and cleaned the tires up, cleaned the wheels up a little bit. Then I used this Meguiar's Hot Shine is about the cheapest tire shine that Walmart's got. And I use a clean paintbrush on it and sort of work it in a little bit, work it into the rubber a little bit. And then we're ready to slap these babies up in place. Starting to get an idea. She's gonna look a little bit more gooder with them 33 1250s on there. 33 1250 15s on a bone stock 2000 Chevy Blazer ZR2. No lift, no cranking the torsion bars, and no rubbing. Now these 33 1250s will rub the fender flare piece that's connected to the bumper. In the case of my Blazer, I bashed into this thing with a forklift one time accidentally and busted that off on one side, so I just took it off of both sides and got rid of it. Now, one of the things that's interesting about the factory wheel, you're not supposed to put a 1250 on a 7-inch wheel, but I did, and it hasn't been a problem yet. Don't see an issue. The guy at the tire shop that I asked about it, my buddy that runs the tire shop, he said he's done it before and on the half-ton Chevys and didn't have a problem. So that's what we did. And the other interesting thing about the front end, if you look here, you can see that the weird thing is I've got the two different wheels. The wheels on the back of here for a two-wheel drive and the wheels for a two-wheel drive are dished out in a way that make the rear end of this vehicle wider. The kind of offset on a two-wheel drive wheel sets the tire out farther than the factory alloy does. And you would think that setting the tire out farther would help you have clearance in the front, but it does not. It actually makes it worse. If you put a 33 1250 on the factory 15 by 10 or 15 by 7 wheel with the regular factory offset, you do not hit any suspension components or the frame. These tires are not rubbing on the suspension components or the frame at all. If you have a tire rub on a suspension component or a frame, then something like a wheel spacer that spaces you out or a wheel dish that spaces you out will help. But the closest area for these wheels to rub is right in here, and that would be when this wheel is turned all the way that way. And actually these clear, but if they were dished out or spaced out, they would not clear, they would rub. So being dished out or spaced out in the front would cause you a problem, not fix a problem when it comes to putting on bigger tires and wheels. So the effect that I've got putting the two-wheel drive wheels on the back is I've made the back end of the Blazer 5 inches wider. It's 2.5 inches on each side wider than it would have been otherwise. I like the 33 1250s on here. I'm glad I got these used ones for 50 bucks so I can drive it around a little bit and see how I like it. So here's what's cracking now. I gotta run to the Western Walmart. I'm gonna take the old Blazer, I'm gonna take a tape measure and a set of calipers, and I'm gonna be looking at a handrail, and I gotta I don't quote jobs very much. I mostly do things by the hour, but every once in a while there's a situation with a regular customer where they have to have a proposal because they've got to talk to higher ups in the thing to get it done. So that's the situation I'm in with Walmart with this this job I'm going to have to go get a quote on. But I'm going to wrap things up on the Blazer video for now, and we'll get back to it. And I don't know if my welding people are interested in this content where I'm goofing with the old Blazer and swapping tires and wheels and messing with stuff or not, but just figured I'd shoot some film of it, make a video, and see what kind of comments I get. So y'all leave me a comment if you just, you know, if you don't want to see any of this type of stuff, let me know. If you like to see the goofing around, modifying on the other things I'm doing, let me know. And I want to thank y'all for watching, and remember, learn how to work with what you got. That way you always have everything you need.